So why would I put so much green space around my pavilion? This video blog tries to explain why green space is important to me, and following on from my research, why green space is beneficial to people living in urban environments. It goes on to show you a few design elements to encourage people to use the green spaces we have.
On the banks of Loch Leven here in Kirkgate Park in Kinross, this is an area of green space that includes a wildlife reserve and a historic monument.
I'm lucky enough to have a lot of all this green space around me. That's because I live in a rural area, and it is one of the reasons why we moved to Kinross. But I've lived in urban areas, and I know that the benefits of green space are well documented, and I've definitely felt the benefits of that myself. So you might have noticed by my accent that I'm not exactly from Scotland. I've lived all over the place, but I was actually brought up just outside Birkenhead on the Wirral. And as you can see from the aerial shots that I've put on this blog site, it is densely populated, but there are still huge areas of urban green space. In fact, Birkenhead Park was actually the template that they used for Central Park in New York. Now, I was really lucky, and I grew up in an area where we had gardens, and my dad in fact had an allotment, so I spent most of my early years helping out there. So we had fresh produce, we learnt all about the land, and we learnt where our food came from. These are benefits that urban farms and community gardens can actually give to the rest of that area and to the people that live there, and I thought it was really important to have some form of urban farm within the pavilion that I designed. Community gardens or urban farms provide visually beautiful, productive, creative and safe open spaces for everybody to enjoy, such as this one in Alpharetta in Adelaide. They allow people to experiment with new foods and experience the growing process, producing fresh food and promoting seasonality, such as the Middlesbrough Meal Project. In some areas, such as Birdtown, the community garden in Detroit, they can really be the only beautiful outdoor space that people have in what is otherwise a really run-down area. I remember when I used to live just outside Philadelphia, driving into the city and passing community gardens that were little green spaces in amongst all the urban decay. The next couple of images are of Liberty Lands, where they took a once derelict piece of ground and turned it into an urban and community garden that everybody could enjoy. Farms can do an awful lot more. They offer opportunities for people to learn new skills in environments that are accessible for all, including people with disabilities and people of all ages and cultures. They can add to the economic wealth of an area in which they're situated, improve the physical and mental health levels of the people that live there, and they really do aid in the community cohesion of the communities that live around them. And it doesn't even have to be an urban farm or a community garden. All of our 6 cities in Scotland have fantastic parks where you really can get a little bit of nature on your doorstep. We have to promote and protect our urban green spaces because the benefits do create a better city and a better life for all. So that's why there was so much green space in my pavilion design, and why the roof, instead of just being a normal green roof of grass or sedum, was actually full of fruits and vegetables and created an urban farm in a totally different type of environment. Now I'm going to go on and describe a few of the other elements of the exterior space of the pavilion design. You couldn't come to Scotland Pavilion without getting a little taste of Scotland itself. I incorporated a small restaurant into my design, hopefully being run by Tom Kitchen, who grew up in Kinross but now has a Michelin-starred restaurant in Edinburgh. His key philosophy is from nature to plate, so having an urban farm right above his restaurant to provide seasonal local produce would be something I'm sure he'd appreciate. But it's not just about restaurants and cafe culture. The whole idea of the pavilion was to get people from urban environments out into the outdoor space, but to protect them from the weather, especially the weather we get in Scotland, which is why there are 3 canopies, and underneath those you can have areas for performance, areas for events to go on, areas for outdoor gyms, outdoor cinemas. There can be a multitude of uses. One of the key elements that visually ties the canopies together is the lighting I designed. We get an awful lot of rain in Scotland, and I designed lighting to mimic the look of raindrops above you while still being protected by the canopy. So if the lighting can be different, why can't the outdoor seating be different too? Park benches are just so boring, so I took my inspiration from a sculpture and turned it into a bench made of corian in the colours of the St Andrew's flag of Scotland. It is hard wearing and can be sat on, led on, even crawled through. So our green spaces are incredibly important to us in Scotland, so they were an integral part of my design. The events calendar for the pavilion would promote how we use our urban green spaces and bring a little bit of Scotland to Shanghai.